Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody. And
202.
happy Christmas or festive period or whatever it is. So, how's it going with you guys? Anything exciting happening in blockchain or crypto land or anything? It's all fairly quiet anyway with the vacation period, I guess.
Everything's quiet at the
Mm,
moment. You've got a few people that are talking about coins are going to, or tokens that are going to go up, and the end of year peddlers, buy
mm.
this, like 12x, 20x, 100x. But it's been very, very quiet. And in the Middle East, it's quiet as well.
Okay,
So
because I'm
is that a good
finding,
thing?
yeah, because I'm seeing it's quite an interesting end of year. Because I posted out on some of the forums earlier how it is the overall market cap of crypto in total, including Bitcoin, dropped by about 10% year on year.
Yeah.
And it's I can't remember the last time that happened because I think it might have been 2022. Because generally it finishes higher than the previous year. Because it's always quite entertaining to speak to people who are into like traditional investments, and they're always saying about they've achieved like their deposit account is earning them 4% a year or something, and crypto is normally going up by about like 4% a month or something.
Mm.
So it's an interesting year that it's finishing on a downtrend, which is unusual. So
Yeah,
we'll see where
I'd
it
be more
goes next
interested.
year.
I'm more interested, of course, I think, as you know already, I'm not terribly interested in the investment side of crypto. I'm more interested in its utility.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question would be, is there serious work being done on or any kind of index to show, the uses, like lending, collateralizing crypto, and how much has that increased, or is anyone keeping an eye on that? Because that to me is very interesting.
Well, I think that the biggest example of that kind of thing is probably things like ETFs, where you've got companies who are providing derivatives which are crypto based but aren't actually the crypto. But in terms of lending, it's always been interesting. That's a market I've consciously steered clear of, simply because one of the things I loved ethically about the concept of crypto and a blockchain is that you can't consume something that you don't have. It's not a debt based system. And so I've always steered away from anything which is offering crypto as collateral. I was involved in one project that was, but it was ethically quite different. So it wasn't actually the way most crypto lending schemes work is that you get things like margin calls and that. So if they lend you $100 against $200 equivalent of Bitcoin, then if the Bitcoin price goes down, you have to keep making margin calls and that kind of thing. The project I was involved in was addressing it in a different way and using different legislation, which basically meant that if it dropped below a certain value, you effectively walked away from the loan, and the loan was written off, but the loan provider kept the underlying crypto. So it's quite interesting. It's like having a high performance car as collateral, and if the value of the car dropped, then you didn't have to make up the shortfall. But the lender got to keep the car, so they were
Well,
taking the
that's
risk.
no different to foreclosing on real estate in the US, for example. You walk
Yep.
away
Yeah,
from real
or
estate
cars
because
or
you're
something
now into
like that.
much.
Mm.
Sorry?
It's the
Well,
same as
when
car loans as well. I mean, you don't
Yeah.
take
well, no, because when you have a loan, this was the interesting thing. This is why I was actually involved in this. When you have a loan, you still have an obligation for the original debt.
yes.
So even when you surrender the asset, you've still got an outstanding obligation. And so the project I was involved in was using a different type of legislation that meant that if the loan collapsed, then the loan provider kept the asset but had no further recourse. It was a non-recourse based loan,
Yeah,
which meant
you
it
have those
limited
in
the
the
risk.
States.
Say again?
You have those in the States for investment real estate, non-recourse.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing that what interests me now is, I mean, I can understand your ethical position, Gary, but I'm thinking in terms of the broader argument as as to whether Bitcoin has any real value. Well, it
Hmm.
starts to have real value when you can borrow and buy things with it. So if you
Hmm.
can if you can hold your crypto, which the hodlers wish to do, and you can now borrow, whether it's a margin call. I mean, I have a margin facility against my wife's shares that she inherited because it's not a good idea to sell them and trigger a substantial capital gain. So we've actually used it quite a lot.
Hmm.
They're a good dividend share, a bank share in Australia, very conservative parents, and we've had them now for the last well, since her parents died, it was 15 years ago, and it's been a remarkably sensible asset, which is
Hmm.
this. It's like a line of credit,
Yeah.
and it works in exactly the same way. They'll lend you 80% of the value of the shares, and we picked a number which was appropriate at the time. The shares have gone up a lot since then, and so we sold a few for tax reasons, and the margin loan remains intact, secured by the underlying
That's
asset,
how,
which is
yeah,
the
that's how
shares.
you do it when you've got wealth.
Mm.
That's why Elon Musk and people like that borrow against the equity in the shares.
Yeah,
And because it's a loan, you don't pay, it's not income to you
Hmm.
because
correct.
it's a debt, it's a structured debt.
Yeah.
So, you can draw, I'm sure Musk is drawing down a significant amount of money because,
I'm sure that's who he lives. Yes, yes.
yeah, how he lives. Yeah.
And doesn't pay any tax. People are always complaining about these big guys not paying tax. Well, they actually borrow. They're living off debt and
Yeah.
the underlying value of their assets. But so the thing for me is, and there's a question for you guys is this going to become common with crypto, and therefore the argument about whether the thing has underlying value or not will go away if
Mm.
there's enough people using it as collateral. Well, you can't
I
argue
think
anymore.
if you listen to Anthony Abel, who comes on
Hmm.
occasionally, where he's tokenizing real world assets, which is in this his case is housing. Um, yeah, I think people are going to start living off of debt
Mm.
because if I've got a house in the UK that's say £1 million and it's fully paid off and I borrow 49% of that, so I've got £490,000 sitting in my bank. That's not income to me, that is a debt.
Hmm.
And
And
so,
yeah.
can I do my retirement planning on 490,000? Probably not the way I want to live, but if I've got certainly more capital than that, then yeah, I
Mm.
can start doing it. But then I can start reinvesting it as well to give me other streams. So yeah.
And
Well,
this is where I think it ties in with Nathan's question that I think there is going to be a growth in this area,
Mm.
and blockchain and crypto is the enabler to it. In that it allows a mechanism to do that, and it certainly provides a mechanism to track and manage it. But it's whether it provides a mechanism that's better than anything else that exists already.
Yeah.
well,
Which,
it begs the question then, of course, of as this much vaunted institutional entry into the crypto space. So if those same players are providing loans, they have less and less interest in volatility. So, which I think is a good thing. I don't have a view on what Bitcoin should or shouldn't be worth. I'm interested in what's actually happening,
Mhm.
and whether that's of any interest to me. Well, it's not. It's not going to be personally an investment. I will simply not invest in that per se because I don't understand it well enough, and I don't want to spend the time tracking it. I've got plenty of other things to do with money, whether it's debt or other. But interestingly, what Stuart was talking about with the unlocking equity. So I've got a very old friend. I mean, old in the sense of age in France, very conservative, and has been struggling. He owes me some money. Blah blah blah. Hasn't got the cash, but he has some serious real estate assets. But he spent the best part of a year trying to unlock the equity, and he couldn't do it because of his age and lack of income until
Uh,
we finally found the key, which was the reverse mortgage. I
oh,
didn't even know it existed in France, but it does now, and that's what he's going to do now, which is he's got he will mortgage one property in order to renovate another one, which he's had half renovated for years, so he can actually make some money off that. The bank takes nothing, nothing on a month. It's called a viager hypothécaire, so it's completely based on his the interest accrues, compounds, and then his children pay it off or not, or the house gets sold. So, we had a philosophical discussion. I said, what's your attitude? He said, well, he used the word feignant, it's, good for nothings. As far as he's concerned, his kids are good for nothings. So they're all already going to get more than he thinks they're worth. So I said, well, why wouldn't you do this? And he said, I'm in, and we're in the process now. It's a lot of paperwork, but I've been organizing it for him. And the beauty of this kind of loan, and I'm sure it's applicable in the UK as well, is that the only criterion for lending is the value of the house, of the property. That your health is irrelevant. In fact, they're quite happy if you're sick, because you'll cark it, and then the loan is then due with whatever interest that it's accrued. But they don't look at your health. They don't do your medicals. They don't do your income. They don't do anything. They just value the house and then loan you a relatively modest. 50% would be as much as they'd probably go. But
It's just based on the asset. Yeah.
People get into trouble with that though, because what happens is that they live longer than they think,
yes,
and the equity is being eaten away by the loan, and at some point the loan goes negative, and that's when the bank says, we have
no, they can't. I went into this
in France.
In the French case, it is simply your children will inherit if there is in fact a debt.
Right.
I mean, negative.
Let's say you're expected to die at 80, 85, and you live to 105. You'll have definitely exhausted the loan in terms of the loan will have accumulated so much interest that it is starting to catch up with the value of the house potentially.
Yeah, I'll double check, but the last time I checked, there wasn't an issue.
I've bought them like that. I have heard the parents and we had to take in our parents, and in other cases they died, and here I am, a kid left with this house that's worth $37,000 when mum and dad paid $1.5 million for it.
Yeah, well, in this case, Pushka, my friend, we've taken the view that he has a few dreams left. He's 82. He's virtually blind. He's been virtually blind for a long time, but he still wants to smell the Greek islands. And I said, well, do this. Finish off the second property or the third property that you've got that needs to be, so you can rent it out. You'll now have some income. You don't pay the bank anything, but you can keep an eye on it if you want. If you're concerned like what you're talking about, I doubt that he's going to live to 105, but at least he can enjoy the quality of life that he's entitled to, which he's not entitled to by borrowing in the traditional sense because he's not eligible.
Right.
So maybe we're going to see a growth as well of. I remember a while ago, I think it was the guy who did the research into Crypto Queen, so Ignova or whatever it was, which was a massive scam a number of years ago. He also did a load of research into the how crypto was being used on the dark market to acquire hitmen. So it eventually proved that it was actually false, and it was just a malicious rumor that you could go onto the dark web and you could order contract hits on people. It's like maybe there's an opportunity in some way of exploring healthcare in different directions.
Healthcare for ex-wives, yes.
Well, the French have had a whole subgenre of movies based on the viager principle. So, in fact, what I've been talking about is a reverse mortgage, but the sale of your property en viager means something like what we're talking about. So in leave the bank out of it for the moment, right? So you own in fact, the property that I own in France was originally bought 30 years ago in this manner, meaning that the lady who owned it sold it with this caveat, meaning that I didn't get full title until she died. So there was an actuarial calculation of her life expectancy, and this is common. This is very much common today in France. and you can sell the property occupé, so where you're still there, or libre in her case. In her case, she had no need of the money. There's a church on the property, and she had an emotional attachment to the church, so she decided that she would sell it with this encumbrance. So the upshot, of course, is for us as a young family, it was a very, very affordable, what was meant to be a weekender while we were living in Paris, because the purchase price had to reflect the fact that you're paying a monthly or a yearly, in this case, amount until she died, based on her expectation of, I think it was like, they expected her to live 12 years and she lived 7. So we won we won. We paid less in the end. But it's very common still. And so there's a whole genre of movies about people getting killed to trigger the Viager.
It's a bit like a syndrome of some research done a few years ago in the Netherlands about suicides. And they discovered something like between 20 and 25%, I think was the number, of suicides were involuntary. And I always found that a fascinating expression of involuntary suicide. You know, other countries have a different word for that.
We call it Hillary Clinton.
I'm going to be very careful here about which of this gets edited onto the video for going onto YouTube. Otherwise, we're all going to end up in trouble on that.
Okay. I'm in trouble. Yes.
Maybe we'll leave that bit out.
Yeah, so for me, that's the crypto story for 2026, is to watch whether, in fact, more and more people start to maybe leave their original ethical position that you had, Gary, and say, well, you know what, I want to keep my crypto, but I actually want to get some value out of it while I own it. Yep. Of course, I've got no problem with that at all. I don't have an ethical position about it. I like the decentralized, economic spreading of whatever that it's supposed to do, and I'm trying to do that in my own little business, but I can do that in multiple ways. Not, blockchain helps, crypto not necessarily. So we'll see where that all lands. But I think my gut feeling is that there's going to have to be a lot more of this happening.
Yep. And again, I think we're going to see a couple of things. One is that blockchain technology can potentially be used to facilitate this. But also, I'm seeing a continued growth in crypto replicating real world, as I describe it, financial instruments. And so if this is stuff that goes on in the real world with, traditional money markets and that, we may simply see crypto equivalents of them established as more people move from the fiat markets into the crypto markets. And I see it all the time. The number of people I bump into, and you say, "Oh, who do you work for?" And they'll mention a big bank, and I say, "But I'm really keen to get into the crypto side." So the mindset and the knowledge of how traditional financial instruments work may well just bleed over into the crypto world anyway. We'll see. But I do think it's a shame in a way that crypto, with all of its quite pure thinking and mindset and that, is simply going to drop down to the ethical standards of the traditional market, shall we say?
The gutter.
Yeah, well, the real world, sadly.
Yeah.
I think that's inevitable, Gary. I mean, the other thing that we've just touched on here is the other thing that as I'm about to hit my 3/4 century in a couple of weeks, and I'm rather happy about that because I'm in good shape and I have a pretty good, a scorecard on most of the things that count for longevity. So I'm not worried about anything. It's just a milestone. But it does trigger this whole question of what's being called the greatest wealth transfer in history because of the baby boomer generation. And I'll be generous to you guys. I don't know how old you are, but let's assume you're either a baby boomer or close to it. I'm a proper baby boomer, meaning 1945 to 1955. Anything else is fake. Anyone born after 55 is maybe on the borderline. 1960 absolute max. So this wealth transfer is happening. I've chosen to do it in my own way, which is I'm involving my 2 children very, very closely in everything we do so that they can get the maximum benefit of whatever there is at a time when they can use it, like now, rather than waiting for me to cark it. And if I stay healthy, they'll be quite old, and what's the point of that? So, but I have this is anecdotal, but I've got quite a few people I know that are my children's age, whose parents have some wealth, whether it be the £1 million house or other things or more, and they're not giving any of it away. They're waiting.
Well, there's tax implications of transferring wealth. That's the problem.
Not in Australia. There's not. In Australia, you can do it
at the moment, probably.
Well, there's no death duties, and in America, you can definitely do it. I mean, as soon as the house that I'm in now, this is my daughter's place. I mean, it's in my name at the moment because I was the only one that could borrow, and now she's got a green card, she can. But I'll be transferring that to her name, and there'll be no cost or like nominal.
Yeah, you just go pay the title fees and.
Yeah, they're very, very small. Yeah, it's not like
you transfer it for love and affection.
Yeah, well, yes.
That's the term you do.
Is it? Oh, I see. Love and affection. Oh, okay. That's a bit scary, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. so maybe he has a great opportunity. We've just been joined by Svetlana. If she's got a microphone on as well, maybe she can say hello, and we can continue the conversation. So, hey, Svetlana, how are you today? So that's a start.
I just saw a link to this conversation in a WhatsApp group chat, and I decided to join it.
Excellent. Well, welcome aboard. Where are you calling in from today, then?
From Malvern.
Malvern, as in the UK?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, it's just the thing I love about these sessions that we hold, we get people from all over the world. So at the moment, we've got Nathan who's calling in from, you're still in Miami, Nathan?
I am, yes.
Yeah, and then we've got Stuart who's over on the South California, is that right? Yeah, and then I'm in the UK. So I always ask, because it's always interesting to see where people are dialing in from. And we get people from all around Europe and everything as well. So what attracted you to the events, Svetlana, where you saw the link? So something in particular you'd like to?
No, I just thought it was about crypto, and I've heard that it's one of the most rapidly appreciating assets. Like Bitcoin has done really well in the past 10 years.
It is interesting, actually. I was talking about it before, that this is one of the few years where Bitcoin's actually depreciated in the last 12 months. Normally, you're right, it increases an asset, but it's actually dropped from January 1 through to today by about 10%, which is quite unusual because it does normally go up. So are you like active in this space then, or just a growing interest in it? We'll leave it to work that out.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, and Nathan, it is very much as you're saying about the things you can use the crypto technology for and that kind of thing. And I think you are right in where it's going to go, that it will be more and more about things like tracking loans or acting as loans, acting as collateral. And it does tie in with what you were saying earlier about as you get increased adoption, crypto takes on a kind of a value in its own right, which makes it more acceptable as a form of collateral or whatever.
Particularly if people, again, this depends on who the people who are doing this, but of course, a lot of the people, initial hodlers or Bitcoin, whatever they're called, the OGs, had a strong view about never touching it. But they're all getting older. They've been around for 15 years, so they may be wanting to use the money for some other purposes. And that's going to be the interesting question, is not that whether this will happen. It will, because it already is. But what's going to happen? What are people going to use the money for? If you can unlock your crypto equity, are you going to buy a house with it, a fast car, a bed like Stuart's?
Yeah.
Or more crypto?
Yeah, well, your other one as well, and it's interesting because you're both talking about health monitoring and that earlier on, and as we're all of an age where we've got greying hair and looking after health, one of the other things that people aren't thinking about, I think, enough yet, in crypto is not just what you're going to spend it on, but how are you planning your inheritance in terms of your crypto holdings? That if you were to sadly pass away, how do you actually ensure that the crypto can get passed on to your future generations, benefactors, or whatever? And
Can't you just put it in your will?
Well, you can, but
why is that an issue, Gary?
well, it's an issue because you've got things like how do people find your private keys?
You give it to them.
Okay, so think about this. What some people have done is they've included details of their seed phrases and private keys in their will. So that kind of makes not nice and easy type thing. But a will, certainly in the UK and many other countries, becomes a document of public record. So effectively, after 12 months, people have access to your private keys. So if you've not transferred the crypto by that stage, someone could go in, get a copy of your will, and then transfer the funds. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. So anything that's...
Where do you get these wills from? Where do you get the public access to the wills?
In the UK, you go to the... is it the Coroner's Court? HMC something. HMCT. CTS. It's certainly... It's a place where you have to initially... register. So if you're an executor of a will, you have to go to HMCTS to register and everything, and you can seek copies of wills and that kind of thing.
But that's post-mortem.
Yes, yeah.
So it's only a problem if the person who inherits doesn't do the right thing and change the key or do whatever he's supposed to do.
Yeah, and therein lies the problem, that if you've changed the key, then you need some mechanism for that to be recorded in some way. So one of the projects I'm aware of, the team of which is based globally kind of thing, they have worked on developing a solution that actually provides an ability to deal with inheritance. And they've actually gone live. I think it's my-legacy.com. I think it's worth checking out. And that's actually got details of this kind of thing at the moment. And how that's looking at ways of actually doing it so that you never actually hold the private keys separately or anything. So you may have seen that there was a news item a few weeks ago. I've forgotten the name of the institute now. It's not like the Institute of Cryptologists or something like that. It's all about cryptography anyway. And they had a vote on something, and they did it cryptographically securely. Unfortunately, the form of cryptography they chose to use was simply a multi-signature key. But it was a multi-sig key where you needed all 4 or all 5 parts of the key to be reconstructed in order to make the master key again. And a couple of the people had forgotten their keys or lost them. So it's dreadfully embarrassing that you've got this organization that's responsible for cryptographic security had made a really, really basic mistake of using multi-sig without it being what's typically known as N of M, which is where you need like any 3 of 5 signatures and this kind of thing. So the project I've been involved in around this whole inheritance thing has it whereby you have what are effectively signatories who don't hold the key, that they hold an ability to recover part of the key, which makes it somewhat safer. So
multi-sig.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit more complex.
It's easier just to pin the seed phrase on my notice board above the computer and just,
Yeah. And for some people, that's kind of what they do, or they go and bury it down the garden or something and leave a note to their family and friends to say something's buried down the garden and that kind of thing. So, hey, talking to people joining us, Svetlana appears to have gone away for now, but Say, is that how I say your name, Say? Say hello? Or is he just listening?
Hey mate, I was just enjoying the conversation. Yeah, lovely to connect. Me, Shay. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good, good, good. Thanks for joining us. I've seen the name around before now. I think.
You've probably seen it around. So I run a space in Liverpool Street called Exchange Spaces.
Yep.
So the co-working and event space. So I run that space, but I do have quite a strong interest in crypto.
Yeah.
Years back, I built an NFT marketplace. So yeah, I'm always, and I've got a crypto community, so I'm always kind of keeping my ears to the ground. So when I saw your message in the group, I was like, yeah, definitely will.
Oh, good. Well, welcome aboard. Now, I think I've actually probably seen you at one of the events as well, as you say.
Probably, yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah, because I know certainly that there's a whole bunch of people like Balbir and Zeshan and a few others and that kind of thing. That's good. Well, you're joined by me and a couple of people in the States today. So Nathan and Stuart, who are both long-term practitioners in many things, I would say. Quite diverse. Stuart's certainly been doing things for a while. And Nathan, I think you're actually relatively new to the crypto space, aren't you? You've been doing some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm a newbie. No, I'm definitely a newbie, and certainly with crypto. Blockchain is as you know, my interest more than crypto per se, but they are intertwined for most people. So,
yeah,
that's fine.
That's good. So apart from the communities that you're running then, what's your actual interest in crypto or blockchain? Are you active in some projects or something?
So after like the post whole NFT era, after building that project, it's very much geared towards like educating people within the space. So I have a community of about 180 people, a WhatsApp group. Outside of that, it's very much from like an investment lens in terms of like with the currencies. I personally really enjoy reading white papers. I was laughing when you said no white papers. I started laughing, but it's something I enjoyed. I enjoy doing. I enjoy researching the space. I find it really, really fascinating, especially blockchain. I think the power of blockchain technology and what it enables you to do. I just find it really, really fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're with friends on that one in terms of what it potentially offers, definitely. But it's something as well. I mean, I've been involved in this since, I guess, about 2014. And I find it interesting how we keep going through NFT cycle. And I remember that and the ICO craze and various other things. We do seem to keep hitting this thing of never quite a blockchain offers. So we'll see. Well, thanks for coming along anyway. Was there anything you wanted to ask or anything you wanted to share, by the way? I'll try and make sure that people get the most they can out of these sessions.
I'm merely here as just someone just a part of the furniture. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
We're all part of the furniture.
Cool, it's okay. And we get that. Yeah. The problem is we all end up as sofas and nothing actually gets talked about, that kind of thing.
Oh, Stuart's got a fancy bed. He's got a fancy connected bed.
Oh my God, I'm never going to live that.
You brought it up, mate.
So I find it interesting because this is again it shows how like crypto, blockchain, IoT devices, all this thing that there is all this interconnectivity in there, and I find it intriguing in terms of looking at these things in terms of, well, what's the crypto connection? Because sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, but also because I get involved a lot in things like cyber and cyber insurance and that, I'm always thinking of being threat vectors, and I'd never thought of bed as being a hacking channel type thing. Stuart's bed is Bluetooth or NFC or Wi-Fi enabled, because if it's Wi-Fi enabled, it's definitely now a threat vector or an attack surface. So anything else happening for people just before we wrap up for the new year? Anyone heard of any interesting things that are going on? Any more regulation stuff going on in the States at the moment? Is it all settled down?
Standard Chartered Bank think that the Ethereum ETFs are going to be cleared by the SEC before the new year. Whether it is true or not, I don't know.
Okay.
But that should bring more
That's
money into the market.
Yeah, and that's interesting because Standard Chartered are quietly maintaining quite an interest in the crypto space, because I seem to remember they invested in a couple of companies, one of which was in London, which was trading in the crypto space, if I remember correctly. I've forgotten the name of it now, but I met the guys a couple of times. So yeah, if Standard Chartered think that there's opportunities and things happening, that's definitely worth keeping an eye on. So I think there's going to be what, an Ethereum ETF coming up. Was that it, Stuart?
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Okay.
I've got something that a friend of mine sent me. This guy's trying to get into the diamond authentication space. A few people are in it, but his business is quite well funded, and I'm not sure whether it'll work. Blah blah blah. But he's just moved. He's an Australian. He's just moved to Dubai, and he sent me this thing about an organisation you guys probably know about called VARA, Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority in Dubai. Is that a leader of any sort, or is it just?
Yeah. So in terms of crypto regulation, VARA is very much up there. And they've done a lot of stuff around setting the goalposts and the boundaries for crypto, which is why Dubai in particular is like a real leader. But the whole of the UAE, Abu Dhabi is pretty good, Bahrain, Qatar. But VARA is definitely kind of like a poster child at the moment for crypto-friendly regulation. The other thing as well, Nathan, if he's into things like diamond authentication and presumably following the Kimberley process, which is how you check the authenticity of diamonds. They're not blood diamonds, that kind of thing. If you need any contacts in that space, in Dubai, in fact, ping me a note because I know a few people out there who are involved in that.
He's supposedly well connected. I mean, he's been in the trade for a long time. He was an auctioneer. Okay. Who then moved into diamonds, and what they're trying to do is to get all the major dealers to hook up and start at least with authentication, and then if they want to go further, maybe go further. But they're very much on that side of it, which I think is a good start. But I've been interested in whether they could actually start to make it tradable in the sense that because diamonds are small. And particularly the Kimberley diamonds, the Argyle diamonds are very, very valuable per carat, the pink diamonds. And that's how I got involved in just trying to help a friend buy one.
Okay.
I came across this guy and now he's in Dubai and we had discussions about crypto and blockchain. He was very, very negative and suddenly he's doing it.
Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting because Everledger, who I always used to describe as the poster child of blockchain, because Everledger was one of the first in this space around tracking and tracing diamonds from extraction at the mine, and then not authenticating, getting the various characteristics of the raw diamond as it came out, and taking a cryptographic signature and putting that on a blockchain. And then when the diamond went to Mumbai for polishing, it would update the signature, then for Rotterdam for final polishing, and then to London, usually Covent Garden for setting. That was all tracked on a blockchain that Everledger was involved in developing. And that was a great, as I used to describe it, Leanne Kemp is the CEO, as the poster child of supply chain and provenance in the crypto space.
What happened?
And it's still going. They went through some financial challenges at board level, I think it was, and they had to do a restructure. And it all went a bit quiet. But I think if you check out Everledger on the web, they're still around. Leanne's still around. I think she's back in Australia now. But that was definitely a very interesting one because they were also involved, funnily enough, in fine wine and fine art provenance at some of their other projects as well. But it did seem to all go a bit quiet for a while. And they certainly developed the tech and that kind of thing. So you don't know if you were trying to join in there, I could see you saying you're trying to say something.
No, so I was typing my
Oh,
keyboard.
okay. No problem. Yeah, so Nathan, certainly that's a really interesting area and something I've followed for a number of years.
Well, it's interesting. I will make sure my guy, he should know that they're all Australians.
Yep.
What's happening, because I just had, while we're talking, just had a quick look at their home page. And again, like a lot of these things, it says it's a marketplace, but then contact us, request a demo. It doesn't actually have anything that you can
Yep.
buy. And
Yep.
I think that's the key to these things is are they actually going to get used?
Yeah, and I think that was the thing that they had some success early on in getting some of the producers or the mining companies and that kind of thing involved, because ultimately for diamonds you need De Beers on board, and De Beers dominates the entire market right through from extraction through to the actual setting and everything. But yeah, that's definitely a company worth checking into. And there is an organisation that's based in Dubai, which is exactly around the Kimberley process. And I know the person who I think is the current chairman of it. So yeah, but ping me a note separately if you need any other details, and I can do a connect or something if need be.
Thank you. Well, definitely what they're doing there, it seems to at least be have a bit of a Venn diagram with what we're trying to do, which is project based, but obviously with telling the story openly and transparently, and that's what they're trying to do, and that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
De Beers has got a blockchain solution called Tracer.
Is it? Wow.
I don't know how successful it is or much about it, but we did approach them some time ago.
Oh, I can see it. Yes, Tracer with TRACR. So it's all happening, isn't it, gentlemen? I have to go. I'm a grandfather today. Illuminating as usual, and Happy New Year. I'm going to go and spend it in New Orleans.
Oh, excellent. Well, have a great time, Nathan. Thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all the best to the kids. And if we'll wrap up for the day a few minutes early anyway, because it's that time of day. So, Stuart, wish you all the best as well. And thanks both for coming along, and hope to see you in the new year.